Imagine waking up in the dead of night to the sound of an explosion. You step out and your entire world is on fire. You're standing on an oil platform in the middle of the North Sea, and the flames are rapidly closing in. You fight your way to the edge, look over, and face an impossible choice. You can stay on the platform and burn alive, or you can jump 30 meters down into the freezing, pitch-black Atlantic Ocean. Nokia's new CEO, Stephen Elop, used this exact scenario in a February 2011 internal memo to describe the company's reality to thousands of employees. Elop was telling his staff that their market had caught fire around them. To survive, they would have to completely change their behavior and jump into the unknown, or stay where they were and wait for corporate death. To understand how Nokia ended up on that fiery edge, you have to look back at their absolute hardware monopoly. At their peak, Nokia controlled an astonishing 70% of the global smartphone market. This growth reflects their total dominance. At its peak, Nokia was valued at $250 billion, shipping over 400 million individual phones in a single year. Their business model relied on high-volume feature phones. They dominated by making minor physical tweaks, changing a case color or a keypad shape, while keeping the internal software largely the same for years. They were untouchable. Yet, within 5 short years of that financial peak, the conditions for their total collapse were already locked in place. The spark that ignited the platform arrived in 2007. Apple released the iPhone, introducing a touch-based interface, and Google followed closely behind with the Android operating system. Nokia responded by releasing devices like the N95. While it was packed with hardware specs like GPS and a 5-megapixel camera, it still relied on physical buttons and a small, non-touch screen. Nokia's leadership dismissed touchscreens as a passing trend. They chose to cling to Symbian, an aging, clunky operating system that was incredibly difficult for outside developers to build apps for. The industry was shifting to a software-first approach. By treating this massive disruption as a simple hardware competition, Nokia let the entire mobile market bypass them. But the reason they missed the shift was deeply psychological. A collective emotional climate of fear had completely paralyzed the company's internal operations. Inside Nokia's offices, middle managers were terrified of losing their social status. When software projects failed or engineering deadlines slipped, that bad news was actively suppressed. Instead of raising alarms, these managers passed wildly optimistic, embellished reports up the chain of command to protect their own standing. Because the top executives were continually fed this false optimism, they believed their platforms were right on track. They were flying entirely blind, missing the window to adapt. Which brings us back to that 2011 memo. Realizing how far behind they were, Stephen Elop made the panicked decision to abandon Nokia's own software and adopt Microsoft's Windows Phone ecosystem. When the burning platform memo leaked to the press, the consequence was immediate. By announcing a future leap while current phones sat on shelves, Nokia killed their sales overnight. Customers stopped buying models immediately, choosing to wait for a future that hadn't even arrived yet. The dramatic message designed to save the company actually served to accelerate its external collapse. Following the jump, Nokia's global market share plummeted. Within years, their control of the market dropped from 50% to under 5%. This catastrophic plunge starved the company of cash. By 2014, they were forced to sell their entire handset business to Microsoft. Even Microsoft couldn't save the platform. By 2015, they admitted total defeat in the mobile space, taking a staggering $7.6 billion financial write-off. The original handset division was essentially buried. Today, the Nokia name survives on smartphones only because it is licensed out to a third-party manufacturer, HMD Global. Nokia's collapse proves that even the most aggressive strategy is worthless without a culture capable of executing it. In the end, it wasn't a lack of vision that killed them. It was a total breakdown in how information and intent moved through the company. They had the best hardware engineers in the world.
But a culture of fear, combined with a refusal to acknowledge how fast their brand value was eroding, neutralized all of their past success. When an organization refuses to acknowledge its problems early on, waiting until the platform is engulfed in flames leaves you with no good options. Leaping into the unknown doesn't guarantee salvation. Sometimes it just guarantees your demise.